Welcome to another fishing reel or vintage fishing reel service video. In this episode, I've got the famous Pocket Fisherman. I was not planning on doing this one for this episode. I had another one picked out. But I went to the local flea market today, as I usually do on Saturdays, and this one came, it was there, and got it for $5, which is a really good deal on these. These are typically going over 20. Nostalgia. People saw them and remembered them from the 70s and so on, and they're kind of a neat little gadget reel, so makes them collectible. This one, this was originally the Pope. I think that was the original name, the Popeil Pocket Fisherman. Although there's been other versions like the Tadpole, and you can even still get basically the same outfit today. I don't know who's making them, but they're either dark green or black, I think, in color. But I think the original looks like this, and was first put out around 1972. Now, I've done one of these before, but not for a video. So before I got into videos, I got one that's in the box. The box not in the great condition, but there's one in here that I've serviced and used. I've done a video fishing with this one, but that's what the box looked like. And there was a bonus bait pack stuck to this one. It had some kind of caviar type, dough ball type bait on there. I think there was even a device for pressing in your dough balls and pushing out dough ball pellets and stuff that I had when I was a kid that was pretty much worthless. But I do like these gadget reels. I have no memory of the details of servicing this, even though I've done one before. I just don't. If you don't do them regularly, you're not going to remember every little detail. So, but at any rate, I want to get this one. I think I might give this away as a gift to somebody, and so I wanted to go ahead and move this one up to the front in terms of servicing it. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing I'm going to do is cut off this bobber and hook, and then so the reel obviously is inside of this panel here, and I've heard, I don't know what's true and what's not, or how you tell the difference, but I've heard that the internal workings, the reel itself, is I've heard Zebco as one of the makers, and I've heard Johnson. I don't know if it's one or the other or both, or what's going on there, but presumably a name brand reel manufacturer was responsible for the reel mechanism that's inside. Okay, so there's what it looks like on the inside. Okay, and then some dirt and gunk and grease in there, but I don't see anything broken or anything, so that can be set aside for cleaning. So when that goes back in like that, so okay, now one of these screws has like a little washer on it to hold that screw from backing out of there. But we'll just leave that for now. In terms of, I guess, I'm trying to remember how I did this before, but okay, so that just slides out of there, and then we can go ahead and take off this nut and the spinner head, and looks like the spool does come out, although it is plastic. somebody has straightened this out or flattened it out. Look at that. I'm pretty sure that that's supposed to have a convexity in it, and somebody's gone and straightened that out. And my thought is that that this is supposed to bend like that. See that? Somebody's, I don't know, it almost looks like somebody's tried to flatten it out. But there's supposed to be a bend in there to put pressure on the, down on the spool when you click that into place. And so I think it's supposed to look more like that. I may have too much of a bend in it now, but I'll get it straightened out at some point before it gets put back together. But it really is supposed to have a bend in it, not be perfectly flat. Alright, so that gets us to getting our spool out of there, and we got to get all that nasty line out of there. And now that I'm thinking about it, one of the things that's kind of annoying about the Pocket Fisherman is when you're winding new line on, you can't see how much is on the spool unless you take this thing off. So you're kind of guessing, and then you might be able to hold it on there while you wind, so you don't have to unscrew the screws every time. I don't know, but yeah, it can be tough to tell when you're loading line as to when you're getting too full or not full enough without pulling that panel off. So these things can go in the parts tray, and we can pull our axillary shaft out of there, and oh yeah, that's really gummed up. But look how hard and nasty that grease is. This thing's probably never been serviced before since the 70s. Look at that. So put that in the parts tray. That can go in the parts tray. Let's see here. And my reverse is so stuck that it's not even working. Yeah, the inverse is just too sticky. It's not engaging. Now if I push it in and then, you know, still not. I wonder if somebody's got that in bass backwards or something. That goes down, so that's forward. Yeah, I think somebody's got that in there bass backwards. Because when I engage that, I can't move forward. That fits into there like that, so that's forward. Somebody's been monkeying around in here, and I'm not positive. But maybe it just needs to be lubed up. But I honestly, I can't get it to. I think somebody might have it. I don't know. I'll find out. Let's find out. Quit trying to guess and find out. All right, so let's pull this off of here. And the handle, which has a folding handle. I went through the operation of this thing when I did. It was a video on the Fish and Fold 2, one of the earlier videos about a year ago, that I kind of went into some of the details on this, but it does have a folding handle. And then we've got the star drag adjuster to come off. And then we've got this little spring washer, tension washer here. And then there's this plastic shim washer. And then out comes the main gear. And then this whole thing will come out, but you've got to take off this plastic washer that keeps that screw from falling out. So I'll set that up there, and then that'll come out. I'm trying to think if that has to go in that way. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with this anti-reverse. Oh, there's a bushing. There's a bushing that goes in there too, so be mindful of that. I wonder if that comes out of there. I still think, no, that's pressed in. Unless somebody had it out. It just seems like, no, it can't go in any other way. It seems like the only way it wants to stop it would be winding forward. I can't get it to stop on this way unless somebody's had that out of there. I hate to punch that out of there and booger that thing up, but what if somebody had that out of there? And I'm trying to think if I could flip that over, whether I get it right. Okay, dummy. I'm glad I didn't pull that off of there. It's not put together right, but it has nothing to do with that. It makes no sense. I don't see any evidence of that being boogered up. What they've done is they put the I forgot this anti-reverse gear comes off. And so what they've done is they put this on in the wrong way. So this is just really crusted on there. And then you've got a drag washer there. Somebody has flipped this over. So let's pry that off of there. That's what happened. Okay, now we're in business. So let's get this drag washer off of there. Okay, so somebody had that flipped on the wrong way. That's supposed to go in this direction so that when you assemble all of this properly, and that when I go back, when I turn it backwards, it gauges the anti-reverse, and then it goes. So somebody had that on backwards, and they had it on for a long time because that drag washer was just pasted on there. So that's been probably wrong for a long time. So all this stuff can go in the parts per tray now. All right, so now I've got a parts tray full of parts. I've got the rest of the outfit. I'm taking this over to the sink, and I'm going to thoroughly clean it with Dawn dish soap and a toothbrush and maybe some WD-40 on certain parts, especially the main gear and the pinion gear and the shaft. And I'll be back just like that. Okay. First thing is, where's my steel wool? I'm going to clean this back side of this main gear off. It's got residue from that drag washer. And then see any more dried up grease in there, so that's good to go. I took this one out to the wire wheel and polished that up. I'm kind of surprised and maybe disappointed they don't have a drag washer between the shaft here and the main gear, but they did have one between the other side of the main gear and the anti-reverse cog. But just to keep this from sticking, I'm gonna just give it a very light coat of grease and put that on there. And then I got to get this anti-reverse cog back on the correct way. So I'm going to kind of pre-assemble it here and make sure that's in the right way. So that faces that way. So yes. So that's reverse and it's stopping. That's forward and it's not. So the anti-reverse gear is going to go with the acute end of the tooth facing up or backwards, and that'll get you into the right position. So I'm going to put a little grease around this bushing. Not that that's going to really be moving, but just to keep it maybe from corroding in there. And then I'm going to oil this shaft here and put that in there. And then I'm going to put some oil on either side on the pivot point of that anti-reverse pull. That's working great now. It was just not assembled right before, and of course lubricating that pawl helps too. Okay, now we're ready to, in this kind of little longer end here is what faces down, and that goes in there with that flat side and tab facing forward. And then we had our plastic sort of shim or washer or whatever you want to call it. And then we had our tension washer. Oh, nope, dummy. Let's see. I think that's right. Yeah, and then we had our star drag adjuster on there, which we want to make sure we don't cross thread. Okay. Then we had our handle, and that's a D-shaped shaft and a D-shaped hole in the handle. And then we had our nut. So if I hold on to the main gear and turn, I got plenty of drag. And if I pull off on that a little bit, not much drag. So the drag is working. And at this point, we can kind of lock this. The other screw is missing the little plastic washer that holds it from falling out, but we can get this one in. Okay, now let's see here. We want to get some grease on our pinion gear. And some oil here, and put that in there. And then this, so there's a little hole or slot right there. That marries into the tab here. So you get this thing turned around and kind of down and in, and then that'll pop into place like that. So that the tab on this piece fits in the slot on this housing here, or on this whatever you call that. I don't know what it's called. Then you can put the spool back in, and oops, goes this way, and there is a post right there, and then there's a little indentation right there, so you line those up. This spool doesn't really spin because the drag's not associated with the spool. So why they even have, maybe it was for another Johnson reel or something. Of course, they've got these little drag clicker things on there, but those have served no purpose in this reel because this drag is not associated with the spool. And then, now that we have our retuned clip, and then, by the way, this only goes in a certain way, so that notch doesn't go all the way around. So you have to get it in preferably that way, but I assume you could go in that way too. But just remember, so it's got to come in from this side. And that, now that I've kind of raised that up and it's not flat anymore, it's holding in that spool much more firmly. And then I'm going to want to take, and this is a little bit tight, so let's see if I can sneak some oil down in there and get it to fall down. Okay. Well, that isn't as bad as I remember, quite frankly. That is actually pretty easy to take apart and repair, at least so far. Let's see here. Probably should have put this confounded thing on before I... Okay, now that little spring was providing some resistance. So now we could take and get our spinner head back on. And this isn't the most ideal screwdriver for this, but let's see what happens. I'm getting all caveman here with the pliers instead of a socket. I could get fancy and go with one of my old fishing tools, but no, that ain't gonna work. Okay. There, now it's on there. All right, so now all we have to do, presumably, is take this and slip it back in there, making sure that screw lines up with the hole on the inside. And there it is. I think that's pretty much, uh-oh. Nope, I did something wrong. I didn't position that thumb button correctly when I put it in. Maybe I can just loosen this up and I can do it exteriorly, but now it's coming up. There it comes. Let's see now. That button was not positioned right when I tried to screw this together. Need to make sure that button is up so that where it engages the pinion gear shaft is touching the end of the pinion gear shaft. So now let's see what happens. Okay. It's working fine now. So there it is. The famous Ron Popeil, rest his soul, pocket fisherman, introduced circa 1972. And like I said, I've done a video on fishing with this, along with Fish and Fold 2, which is a similar outfit. Of course, I have a video on the fishing machine too, one of the other gadget reels or outfits. So maybe I'll leave a link to those at the end of the video. But do it yourself another little favor, and go into YouTube and search under pocket fisherman commercials. Those are really great. I mean, it talks about shows them catching some big fish, talks about the belt hook. I don't know, can't imagine anybody clipping that to their belt, but it also does have the little tackle box on board. So somebody's got some hooks and sinkers in there. Wonder if those are original to the kit. Wouldn't shock me. They look like something you'd get. And then they had a little red foam bobber in there too, like a long red foam bobber. But pretty brilliant idea. I mean, it's not, if I was going to choose a gadget outfit to actually seriously fish with, it would be hands down the fishing machine by St. Croix, which is a telescopic rod but built-in reel, and it's got the little range finder on it. That thing, that's a legit outfit. You could legitimately take that, catch some big fish with it. This one, I think, I've kayaked fish with it, and it's really not. Maybe I just need to learn a technique, but I find it difficult to do overhead, casting. It tends to be best cast with a side motion, cast to the side. The other thing with it is setting the hook. With a long rod, you get a lot more leverage with just a flick of the wrist. You can set the hook well. With this thing, you almost have to use your whole arm to get a good hook set. But it's still cool. It can be very fun to fish with, and it's nostalgic, and it's a neat idea. It's a neat idea. So that's it. How to service the circa 1972 pocket fisherman from Ron Popeil, or Popeil, or however you want to say it. All right. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching.